The Pirates didn't play last night, and that means this episode will almost entirely be Ask Me Anything. You all delivered. Now it's my turn. Next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Welcome to Locked On Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan, and my favorite type of show, Ask Me Anything, is on deck. You all decide the topics. I do my best to address them. It's the truest expression that this show is yours. So I want to get right into it. After I quickly mention the Pirates picked up Genesis Cabrera. They signed him for a year to a major league contract. I just wanted to kind of make sure people understand why. It's the lefty injuries. The Ryan Barucki injury to his lower back leaves Caleb Ferguson as the only lefty. If you remember all the way back to the beginning of the season, the Pirates had almost four. I think they had Tim Meza, Caleb Ferguson, Ryan Barucki, and Joey Wentz. And they've moved on from Wentz. You know, Meza's been hurt. Caleb Ferguson's been great. And Ryan Barucki hasn't been playing all that great and now has this lower back concern. You need another lefty besides Caleb Ferguson. And Genesis Cabrera has a little bit of a track record of both being good and bad. A little bit wild. Kind of in the wheelhouse of what the Pirates are pretty good at fixing. So let's see. I mean, it's worth a shot at least. I certainly like it better than doing nothing. You can't just have Caleb Ferguson be your only lefty. There. Now I've mentioned the business end of things. Let's get into questions because that's really what this show's about. The Launchpad asks, how much does Nicky G, Henry Davis taking off, if it happens, factor into Cherington's fate as GM? Could proving he can identify some quality hitters give him another year to prove he's finally on to something? Well, I mean, the assumption there is that Bob Nutting hasn't already made his mind up, which, hey, there's some founding there. And the reason I say that is because we're going to let him make some pretty big decisions relatively soon, aren't we? The draft is coming up in just a few weeks, and we're going to be letting him make another crucial decision. This deadline, I could argue, is probably the most consequential deadline that they've had in quite some time. They have some legitimate pieces they could move. They have some legitimate pieces in place. Yeah, and I think this is an important one. So letting him do either of those tells me they must at least think he has some kind of a chance. As far as directly like those two players or whatever, I mean, I talked about Nicky G on the show the other day. I think a lot of people just forget his journey here and how many injuries he sustained on the way here. And really, he's just now creeping up into the territory of a full MLB volume of season at bats. And I don't mean this year. I mean collectively over the 3 years that he's played in the majors. So I don't think it's even time to start judging him yet, really. We'll see. I think he's probably on the right track, but is it fair to say that it's taken a little bit too long? I'm not sure how that works on the talent identification side of things. You draft a college player, it probably shouldn't take you 4 or 5 full seasons to get him into the swing of things, or at least get him into the majors and have people convinced he's going to stick. Yeah, I mean, in Henry Davis, he's already proven he's a major league player, so he's identified that. And the last thing I'll say about this is a lot of the identifying of talent. This is stuff Ben Cherington just changed last year. They changed that whole system, the scouting system that they have in place for that and the international market I don't know that Ben Cherington gets to just stick around and see how that works out, but I can say they've already addressed that aspect of it. People have the misconception that GMs are making every single personnel decision based on their own evaluation of these players. And I do say that sometimes that's true. They're certainly looking at their number one pick closely and deciding for themselves whether that's what they want to pick or not. But that's not what they're doing when every international guy is signed and everybody is drafted all the way down through the draft. That's all on scouts and whatnot. So I think if anything, he already evaluated it, didn't like it, and replaced it. So I don't know that he gets bonus points if it starts to work late, as it has, because the last draft, a lot of hitters, right? That said, the draft had something to do with it. Dennis Cunningham says, who will play shortstop if IKF is traded? Will Canario be traded? There are rumors of a major trade, Gary. Any idea who might go and who the Pirates might get in return? Well, let's start with last first. Rumor is a strong word. Greg Brown had a feeling, and he talked about it on his show on 93.7 The Fan. Okay. If you asked Greg directly, will Ben Cherington get fired? He would not be able to answer the question. So I'm sorry, I'm just not going to take Greg's gut as a rumor that something's happening. And the other one, it wasn't a rumor at all. It was, hey, these two teams had a conversation. Here's one of the players that was mentioned. That's all. That's not a rumor. That's just teams talking. And somebody had loose lips for some reason. Probably somebody that wanted the news put out there that somebody was on the block. So if anything, what you take from that is Keller's probably available if you really want to try to buy him. Will Canario be traded? Well, he has no options. So is he tradable? I don't know. But if they want to put him in the minors, it's going to have to be to clear waivers, and that usually turns into a trade. I think he's done enough to at least show that somebody should be interested in him. The problem is no team's going to have to keep him in the majors. I think if the Pirates had a choice, they probably would have put him in the minors by now too. But that's what happens when you acquire guys that have no options. And that tends to be what the case is for waiver claims. Now, who will play shortstop if they trade IKF? Well, internally, you're probably looking at Jared Triolo as your best defensive option that happens to be in the majors. I could see a scenario in which they might want to try to move Nick Gonzalez over to short and bring up Nick York for second or something along those lines. But internally, it's almost got to be Jared Triolo. I suppose they could bring up Liover Peguero too, but I just don't think that they've ever been satisfied with his glove at short. Chang is hurt and hasn't done anything all year. I just don't think there's an internal option. Now, the other side of this coin is, well, by the time the dust settles from the trade deadline, perhaps one of their returned pieces is a shortstop, and that very well may answer your question. But if it's just based on what's here, Jared Triolo would probably be the leading candidate, I would say. Daniel Sametz. Is ownership really going to let Ben Cherington trade our pitching to the Cubs? Well, I certainly hope not. I made my feelings very clear on that the other day. I also feel like if he felt it was the best trade he could get and he's got that kind of sway, I don't think there's too much they're going to stop him from doing. I think it would be a horrible idea. I've gone into it about as deeply as I can on yesterday's show, so I don't want to go too much further with that. Todd Kremer. Let's see. What non-expiring contracts do you foresee traded? Santana, Keller, Falter, possibly Cabrian Hayes? Yeah, any of those are possible. I think the only guys who let me just do it the other way. I think the only guys who are really truly not in danger of getting traded: Brian Reynolds, O'Neal Cruz, um, probably Paul Skeens for sure. I would think those three in particular don't go anywhere. It would be really dumb to turn around and trade Spencer Horwitz, so I doubt they're going to do that. I don't think you're going to see them trade Henry Davis. I don't think there'd be that much of a market for him, quite frankly, not yet. Plus, I think there's more potential there for him than there is like Joey Bart. Joey Bart is a guy that you could probably add to that list if you wanted to. I'd feel more comfortable about that if Endy wasn't made of glass. But that's a potential starting point there. Lots of questions, guys. We're going to get to them. I have probably more than I'm going to be able to get to, but we're going to do our best. Let's take our first break and come right back and jump right back into questions. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly when Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, and even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes it all possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last minute deals, clear seat views, and lowest price guaranteed. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming MLB game, such as tonight when there's rain in the forecast and this big drone show. You might have people dropping out last minute. Might be a good opportunity. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. I love this next question. Let's dive right in. Before I do, though, hit me with a subscribe and a like. We just hit 2,500 subscribers on the channel. I appreciate it so much. We've grown it significantly since I took the show over, and I'm really excited about the direction that we're headed. Charlie Williamson, you think Connor Griffin will reach Double-A by season's end and possibly to the major leagues next season? Late. He's talking cup of coffee. He's becoming my favorite minor leaguer. Charlie, I think Connor Griffin has all the potential in the world to move up this year to Double-A. I think they're going to quickly find that he's overmatching high A pitching in Greensboro, and I think the ballpark is going to make it difficult to make his numbers not look ridiculous. I think he can earn his promotion to Double-A before this season's over. My caveat there is the Pirates, and especially Ben Cherington, if he's still here, they do place a lot of value in these guys being able to win championships at the lower level. And Greensboro has more of a chance of winning a championship than the Double-A Altoona Curve do. I don't think it would hurt his path through the system at all, but I do think if he stays in Greensboro, that's the ulterior motive. I think he could still wind up getting a cup of coffee towards the end of next year if he continues to play like this. There's nothing I can think of that would hold him back. They need the offense. He's a draft pick. I don't think they care how old he is when he gets here if he looks good. And you can't deny that he looks incredible so far. Yeah, I think that's a realistic hope to hold out, Charlie. I really do. BNZZ58. I love these names. They're so funny. The only way the Pirates are going to get anything back in trades is to trade Skeens. A Keller and Bednar might bring you back one decent bat, but the Pirates need at least 2 or 3 bats back. Skeens could get you that. A trade I would propose is Skeens, IKF, and Hayes to Texas for Langford, Young, Rocker, and Josh Smith. That solves our left field, third base, shortstop, and starter. Yeah, it does, but it severely undervalues Paul Skeens. I just, and it overvalues IKF, and I don't know. The Rangers are struggling for offense themselves, and they're about to go through some bigger changes. Like, they're trying to move Adolis Garcia, and he's struggled these last couple of years. Since that World Series run, he's just not been the same. They've got a lot of young hitters, and here you are cherry picking all of them for pitching, which is the one thing that team has in spades. I don't think that's a good marriage. I really don't. And as bluntly as I can possibly put it, they're not going to trade Paul Skeens. Period. Just not. The owner's already said that is not happening. So get that out your head. It ain't going to happen. I don't care how much Jeff Passan wants it to. Chuckster623. To the best of your knowledge, does Ben Cherington ever watch or listen to any of your Locked On Pirates podcasts? Well, to the best of my knowledge, he has listened to my other show for sure. And this one I know gets played sometimes in the office at 115 Federal. I'm sure he's overheard it. I know Travis Williams has listened to it. He told me he did. So, yeah, it's been listened to. Do they listen to me, though? Absolutely not. I'm just a dumb dude. Which feeds right into the next question. Gary, if Nutting offered you the Pirates GM position, would you take it? No. It would be my first GM job and my last, because there's no way that I could make a winner out of what Bob Nutting is giving me to work with here in Pittsburgh. And I don't know anything except for things that look good to me. I don't know what's going on in the background that makes some of these decisions harder than they are. And just trying to keep up with the transactions and the roles for the transactions and everything from my perch is difficult. I can't imagine if I'm orchestrating it. I mean, like, it's just the roles of Major League Baseball transactions and how players' service time works and everything. They're so intricate and whatnot. I don't think that anybody like that pretends that they know what they're doing is qualified. I think you have to be somebody that's worked in it a little bit, at least. It's kind. You think I would? Let's see. Jack Marasio. Let's see. Here's another one that wants me to be a GM, but they want me to be the GM of the Cubs. What 4 players would you offer for Keller and Bednar? I would like to see what I call a good deal. If you want to see what I call a good deal, that's different than asking me what I would think the Cubs would offer. I don't think the Cubs have a partnership here for acquiring Keller, if only because I don't think the Cubs are going to return major league hitting. At best, you might pry away their number one prospect. And I'm not 100% in love with the guy. And Alcantara is up in there too. I'm not 100% sure he's going to be for sure a major league hitter. And if I'm trading Mitch Keller, that's the starting point for me, man. I have to have a for sure major league hitter. I just don't think they have that available. Like, let's say that they weren't like where they are or whatever, and they wanted to offer me something like Seiya Suzuki for Keller and Bednar. Yeah, I'll do it. Get a couple years of Seiya Suzuki in the middle of this lineup. I think that impacts this team and makes them better, and I can understand giving up on Mitch Keller for that. I can't understand giving up on Mitch Keller for a new bank of prospects. That smells an awful lot like full-blown rebuild to me, and I don't think that's where Bob Nutting's head is. I really don't. Maybe you can reason that he should be. Maybe you can make that argument, but his head is not there. Even if he fires Cherington, I don't believe this team is headed for another rebuild. Alex Correa, will they replace me? Hopefully soon. Well, that's really nice, Alex. Alex likes to alternate day to day whether he likes or hates me, depending on what I say. Let's see. LJL 123. What other teams come to mind as possible trade partners outside of the Red Sox, O's? What's another one of their pitchers going down tonight? Mets, maybe. Yeah, Mets are somebody that I think for sure. They've got a shortstop I'm really interested in that they just sent back down to the minors, Mauricio. That's an example of somebody that's got a little taste of MLB, so he's gotten to prove it out a little bit. He hasn't done well up here, but I like his stuff enough, and I think he's got enough potential. And I think he could fill the shortstop role for the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's a guy that I'd be interested in moving for. Somebody that has gotten a taste up here, top prospect type. I really think that's somebody that could be on the table there. The A's are interesting to me, and the A's are interesting to me because they've got so many position players flooding up, and the A's are a team that has struggled to actually sign people to extensions. They've overpaid for the couple that they did manage to sign, and that's because, well, frankly, people don't want to sign to play in a minor league ballpark, and it's the A's. Pirates have a lot of these same issues, so I'm not throwing stones. But the Pirates did manage to sign Mitch Keller. So if you wanted to trade somebody like Mitch Keller to the A's, well, that gives them a 4-year contract for a player, something that they have a hard time getting on their own. And they've got a ton of overflow talent that they might be able to sell back from some of these kids just coming up and pushing them out of the way. That might not be a bad team to look into. The Angels are always a dark horse, but you never really know what they're doing. Texas might be a good match for some things. I just don't see it as a good match for a big trade chip type thing like Mitch Keller. See that more as a swap type situation. Maybe even like prospects for major league talent with Texas. I think that's something that you could look into. I wouldn't trade with the Rays. I feel like the Rays are in good shape for the most part. And I don't see them having any of those guys that they really want to get rid of this year. Nothing major anyway. There's probably a lot of decent matches, but you're not going to get any of the, I think, the top teams, if only because I don't think they're going to give you major league talent. I think you're going to need somebody in the middle that's willing to think of it a little bit differently. Major league talent for major league talent. I think anybody that's willing to consider that is somebody that I would consider, as long as they're not in the NL Central, as I've discussed a couple times. We got to step away for one more second here. Come back and do some more questions. All right, I promised you that one would be quick, and it was. Let's see, MZALEN113. Yeah, these names, man. I love when you give updates on the minors. I used to watch the minor league games religiously on At Bat. A change of job has made that significantly more difficult. Do you have a podcast dedicated to the minors? I don't. This is a major league show, and the focus of this is the major leagues, but I will talk about the minors because, especially here in Pittsburgh, if you don't have one eye on the minors, you're probably not watching this team properly. I think you have to. I can tell you my favorite show, and my network probably won't appreciate it, but so be it. Bucks on Deck, Anthony Murphy, not so much the podcast, but his website. They're the best to me as far as covering the Pirates minor league system. They follow them. I can tell you honestly that Anthony Murphy himself watches just about every game and every pitch of every minor league team that's in the Pirates system, and he knows them all. And his knowledge is second to none. Love listening to him, learn a lot from him. That's probably where I would point you. John Decker's really good too. If you follow him on Twitter or Facebook, he's excellent. Mark G. How many ways can O'Neill be spelled incorrectly by Pirates fans? That's funny. Besides that, what has happened? Have the opposing pitchers got him figured out? Well, to a degree, yes, Mark, they have. They figured out that O'Neal Cruz is going to take the first pitch, and they're taking full advantage of it by piping it right down the middle. And he's not adjusting to it because he's stuck in his headspace. Just saw the first game after Donnie Kelly pushed him down in the lineup. And I don't want to simplify this to the point where like O'Neal Cruz sees a number next to his lineup spot and it changes his mentality entirely. But getting him out of the leadoff spot is probably the smartest thing the Pirates could have done with him. I think it's going to cause him to really start to take fewer pitches that are right down the middle. Once he corrects that and he starts actually doing damage on that stuff, we'll see the league adjust again. They always do. You see this with Brian Reynolds a lot, actually. Brian Reynolds to me is a really good comp for things we've watched throughout the years. If you think back a couple of years ago, like 2023, everybody was getting Brian Reynolds out on sliders down and in, left-handed. Sliders down and in, sliders down and in. He just couldn't hit them over top of them over and over and over again. Well, he figured it out. He figured out not to chase it, first of all, and then he started hitting every mistake that people threw in there because he was looking for it. It changed Brian Reynolds as a hitter. Well, then in 2024, the league changed and they started attacking him a different way. It was high fastballs out up over the zone, tempting fastballs that he couldn't get to, especially because he's trying to cover that low and inside slider, right? And it's really hard to cover that and top of the zone away at the same time. Well, the league did that for a while, and then Brian started realizing, well, I'll just poke it to left, and the league stopped doing it. O'Neal needs to figure those things out, and we've seen him figure those things out as he's faced them on the way here. This year in particular, he started out great. He was hitting a ton of home runs, ton of energy, running the bases, getting walks, making the most of not being pitched to. And then I think after a while, it just gets frustrating not being pitched to. And you start fishing, and this league right now, they do for sure have a formula to get O'Neal Cruz out. And it's to hit him with a couple strikes early in the zone and then never threaten the zone again, especially down and away. And if he does continue to foul off that pitch down and away, well, you can always lock him up on a fastball inside because he's just not going to be looking for it. That's O'Neal Cruz right now. Until he figures that out, yeah, that's what they're going to do to him. And I think you're going to see just about every pitcher do it to him. I'd love to say that this is just like a lefty-righty thing with Cruz. That would be an easy solution. But it's not. Yeah, he struggles to hit lefties, but he struggles to hit lefties mostly because none of them pitch to him, and he doesn't face them. When he does face them, it's late in the game, and it's not like a normal lefty that he's seeing multiple times in a game. It's usually a reliever. If he does face a starter, most people are only going to let that lefty starter see him twice, maybe. So he's not really getting to the point where he can actually learn any of them. Yeah, in short, it's kind of a change all the time. I think it does that sort of thing to a hitter, and they have to constantly learn different things like that. Let's see. Who do you hope the Pirates get from trading Mitch Keller and David Bednar? Well, first, I don't necessarily think Keller has to be traded. So it's not a hope for me. It's a demand. I demand that Keller return major league hitting. If Keller, and David Bednar a little bit less, okay? Like David Bednar has 1 year of arbitration left. Get the best deal you can get out of him. I think you might be able to get a borderline blocked player, like we talked about Mauricio from the Mets. I think he's a good target for David Bednar. They need more help there. Mauricio could come back. I don't think Bednar gets him that alone, but you wouldn't need to throw in Keller either. You could throw in something else, and I like a good pitching prospect, and I think you probably could land Mauricio. So there's a deal to be made there. But Keller, I don't have to do that. Pirates don't have to do that. They've already accounted for this money. They're fine. They don't have to spend that money. If Keller being traded isn't going to get you exactly what you want, you don't do it. You just don't do it. Like, if you're trying to sell your car because you want to sell your car and you don't need to sell your car, and you put a price tag of $20,000 on it, and somebody comes by your house and they go, that car's not worth $20,000. You go, oh, okay. Don't buy it then. Now, if you have your car for sale because you need that money to pay your mortgage, and you put a price tag of $20,000 on that car, and somebody comes by and says, I ain't giving you $20,000 for that. I'll give you 16. If you need the money bad enough, you'll do it. You're going to lose your house. You might as well suck it up and realize you asked a little too much. Take what you can get. Live to see another day. That's not the situation we're in with Mitch Keller. You don't have to sell him. So be very, very choosy, right? Be a cat picking out your dinner. Be very, very selective. Get what you want or don't get anything. Save it for the off season. Part of me would rather do that anyway, just because I don't want this GM to do it. But that's where I'm at. It's not so much about like having guys picked out that I have to have for Mitch or having examples even. But I want major league players back. Period. That's what has to happen. I don't think there's a question here. And I think that's what the Pirates should hold firm to. You don't move a guy like Mitch Keller just to dump the salary. And I honestly don't think that's where Bob Nutting's at. He was fine paying the salary. This is the salary he agreed to. The only reason to move Keller is because you need bats. And he could bring them more than a lot of the other things you have to sell. So, and you're probably going to have to pay a bat like that relatively soon. And Keller makes sense for that reason, because you're kind of can put that salary and reallocate it to your new asset that you just got. That's why I think proposing trading Mitch Keller makes sense. But again, you don't have to do it. You don't have to take less. You don't have to take what somebody else feels like paying. Not now. You can hold off on that and wait till the offseason. You can not do it at all. You could decide Mitch Keller is a piece here. What were we even thinking? Bailey Falter makes a heck of a lot less and honestly has been pitching better. And he's still got arbitration control. That's a guy you could pivot to trading. But I want major league return for him too. Do you get what I mean? If you're going to move an asset that's got a ton of team control, get what you want. You're not in a position where you have to do things like that. Now, if it's Caleb Ferguson, who's on a 1-year deal, and you want to hold him hostage for a major league player, well, you're not going to get one. That's different. You don't get anything out of keeping him. You just have Caleb Ferguson for the rest of the year. Completely different situation. But if you're going to trade anything off of this major league roster that we consider decent, well, you better get back something that replaces it now. Not maybe in the future, now. Otherwise, yeah, really, you aren't supporting what you have here, and you might as well go ahead and trade Paul Skeens and stuff, like, because you're not trying to help win during his window if you're not serious about this team taking a major leap in 2026. And that doesn't happen if you're trading a guy like Mitch Keller for a bank of prospects. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. And maybe you're okay with that. I'm not. And this is my show. So, I want to get better right away. I don't want to get better 2 years from now. We've given them 6 years already. Sorry, I'm not giving you an extension on the loan when you haven't made your payments. All right? Hey, that's all I got. Everybody have a great weekend. Next week, big week on the show. We got to do all-star stuff, and it's time for draft stuff. I'm going to get into the draft big time next week. It's time to start talking about those options. So tune in, check it out. Let's go Bucks.